Hey Bookaholics, and welcome back to another video. Today I am bringing you my April TBR. The month of April is of course the spring equinox for the Magical Readathon, which I will be participating in. And I was initially just going to go and find books to fit the prompts, and then I decided that I'm really masochistic and that instead I am going to use my jars and hope they fit prompts. And if they don't fit my compulsory prompts, then I'll have to pick more books out. I don't know how well this is going to go, but I just thought it would be fun and a way to challenge myself, and we'll see. I haven't got a huge amount of plans for April, so I am hoping to read a lot, but I do think this is going to get a bit out of hand. So this is probably going to be a really overly ambitious TBR. It's probably going to be more like an MBR, like a maybe, but we shall see. And I'm going to start out with my obligation reads, then I will get into my jars, and then we'll see how it all works for the Magical Readathon. For those of you who only care about the Magical Readathon part, I will leave it timestamped in the description down below. Starting with my obligation reads though, we have a read along that is starting, a read along that is concluding, and two that I have ongoing. I don't know why I do this to myself, but the one that's going to be concluding, sadly, is going to be the Memory, Sorrow and Thorn read along, hosted by Stephen Arion, and the last book, which is To Green Angel Tower Part 2, is the one that we're going to be reading in April. I haven't actually, as of filming this, finished the first part of this book yet, so I don't know how I'm going to feel about it, but I have been really enjoying this read along and I'm really glad that I have been participating in it. It's been really interesting to read a classic fantasy like this and see people who read it when it came out or when they were younger versus me reading it now with a more modern lens, and it's been really interesting. So I'm having a fantastic time with it. I'm kind of sad to see it end. The read along I am going to be joining though is I'm going to be joining in with the Brothers Gwyn over on their Discord, and they are having a read along for Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. I have not read this, but I have heard so many amazing things about it. If you read historical fiction, you're supposed to have read this, I think. I think it's compulsory reading at this point. I am excited, but also trepidatious going in because a lot of the books in historical fiction specifically that are really, really hyped don't land with me as well for some reason, but I'm hoping this will be an exception. This is the story, I believe, of Cromwell, Thomas Cromwell, during Henry VIII's reign. I am excited to give it a go and see other people's thoughts, especially with the Brothers Gwyn, because they do tend to talk a lot about historical fiction. A lot of their fan base will be quite thoroughly read in historical fiction, and I'm excited to see everyone's thoughts. I myself, however, have been working my way through the Cosmere, and I am finally going to be finishing Mistborn, which is my least favourite thing I've read in the Cosmere so far. We shall see how the conclusion to this series feels for me upon reread. I have The Hero of Ages, Mistborn, Era 1, Book 3, and then I am hoping to get into new territory and therefore books that I will potentially enjoy more. At the minute, because I've only read Elantris and then reread Mistborn, I don't feel like I can see the wider Cosmere implications yet, but I am hoping that they will provide good hindsight and I'll be like, oh, I remember that. Hence why I have decided to reread them, but they're not a series that I love. At the minute, I have mixed feelings about going to read this, but with the hope that it will actually be for a purpose. And the last of my obligation reads is probably the one I'm most excited for. I am hosting a read along with my friend Eleanor for the Temeraire series by Naomi Novik, and the second book is the one that we are reading in April, which is Throne of Jade. This one is an adult fantasy series that has 9 books in it, and we are following Lawrence, who is a man who was in the Navy, and then when they capture a French vessel, it happens to have a dragon egg on it, and dragons are invaluable to the war effort, so he has to take upon himself the responsibility of this dragon, and then he becomes a dragon rider, and it's a really fascinating series. The first book was very much a setup book, so I'm really excited to see where the series goes from there, but it's the Napoleonic Wars with dragons in it. What more can I say? And now, just to mildly traumatize myself, we're going to go into the jars. I'm going to start with my Spanish jar. This, again, as usual, is kind of my lowest priority one. If this one needs to roll over to another month, then so be it. I'll leave it open because most of these are series. Do I want to know? Los Hijos de la Diosa Huracán. This is the 3rd time this has come out of this jar. So we'll see if I actually read it in the next couple of months. This is Los Hijos de la Diosa Huracán by Laina Tiviano. This is a historical fantasy that is set in the Americas during colonization. We are following a young woman who has connections to the island in some way, shape or form. She was found as a baby and has been raised in Spain. I don't know a huge amount more about it, but it's going to be interesting. And again, she's an acclaimed fantasy author in South America, so I am excited to get into it, and I keep putting it off, and I don't know why. Not gonna lie, it's all looking rather dense already, but we shall continue. Now, I am once again not going to be pulling from the digital jar. The digital jar is the series that I want to read, that I want to binge in their entirety, but I only own it digitally. However, this month I have actually been sent a review copy of the first book in a series, so I'm going to be reading that series instead. The series is the Odyssey Earth series by Rex Berg, the first book being Orphan Planet. If I like this first book, then I will go and binge the rest of the trilogy. It's a feel-good sci-fi adventure. With Earth in crisis, humans are traveling deep into space, but humanity's future just took a wrong turn. A 17-year colony ship voyage, a straight shot to a new planet, hand-picked, single-minded crew, and 1,000 settlers in hypersleep. No children, no families, no fuss. That was the plan anyway. Captain Juno Washington commands a ship of loners and oddballs. The teenagers of Odyssey Earth didn't ask to be born and face an uncertain future. And Jordan Booth really didn't want to be woken up early. After an unexpected change of course, relationships are tested like never before. If they listen to advice, pull together, and stop squabbling, they might just make it. Yeah, right. Good luck with that. It sounds so much fun. I am really excited to get into this one. I do love really campy, fun sci-fi. So I think that amongst all of this really dense TBR, I am going to have a good time with this one, and I think it's going to potentially be life-saving. Now we're going to go take a dive into the miscellaneous jar. Yay. I am not terrified. You are. Help me. We have Illborn by Daniel T. Jackson. Of course we do. I think that's one of the chunkiest books I own. That's another one that I'm going to be reading digitally. Again, we shall see if this is a thing that I get to this month or if it rolls over into next month. But this is an adult epic fantasy, and it is self-published. And it is very acclaimed. Everyone seems to think it's the best thing in the self-publishing industry. And the synopsis for this one goes: long ago, Lord Idwell emerged from the deserts of the Holy Land, possessed with divine powers. He used these to forcibly unite the peoples of Angol before his ascension to heaven. Over 800 years later, in a medieval world which is threatened by war and religious persecution, 4 young men and women begin to develop supernatural abilities. These forbidden and secret powers will shatter the lives that they have known and will force each of them to confront the mystery of the ethereal gate which haunts their dreams. What does the dream mean? How does it connect their burgeoning powers? As they experience conflict, love, lust, and betrayal in lands which are being overtaken by war, they must try to stay ahead and to survive the sinister forces that are now pursuing, for they are being hunted. Sounds amazing. I'm very excited for it. I'm also terrified because this is huge and this TBR is huge. But again, it can roll over into next month if I can't fit it in. And the last jar we have. The thing is that because I have now 4 digital books, I'm going to delude myself into thinking this is a small TBR because I don't have them physically represented there. This is my series jar, which is my physical series that I own that are on the shelves, and I am going to hopefully get to. All right, this is where you pray for me that it's not, again, because it's a readathon, I think I will put back any of the long series because that seems a bit obscene. At some point I do need to get to them though. Ooh, The Siege by KJ Parker. That's not a long series. All right, we'll go get that. We have The Siege by KJ Parker. This is, I believe, humorous, epic fantasy, military fantasy. And I've been really wanting to try KJ Parker, and this seemed like a good place to start. I got the first one secondhand, and then I picked up the other 2. Amazon did me dirty because it gave me a US edition of the 3rd book, so it's mismatched, so I'll have to probably repurchase that. I did actually try and send it back, but because I'm in Spain, they just gave me my money back. So I did technically get this book for free, but it's just, it's mismatched. I can go purchase it again because I got the money back for it, but annoying. We're going to go look at what these are about. This trilogy consists of 16 ways to defend a walled city, how to rule an empire and get away with it, and a practical guide to conquering the world. This series is about the story of Orhan, son of Seared Doctus, Felix Clarismus and his history of the Great Siege, written down so that the deeds and sufferings of great men may never be forgotten. The siege is approaching, and the city has little time to prepare. The people have no food and no weapons, and the enemy has sworn to slaughter them all. To save the city will take a miracle, but what it has is Orhan, a colonel of engineers. Orhan has far more experience with bridge building than battles, is a cheat and a liar, and has a serious problem with authority. He is, in other words, perfect for the job. I'm very excited to get into this one. It sounds hilarious. The titles alone sound hilarious, so it's gonna be a good time. All right, now I'm gonna go through my compulsory reads for the Magical Readathon, and then we will go from there. So the first one I have is Alchemy, and it is a book with a circle on the cover. Orphan Planet has a planet on the cover, and planets are round. So I will use that one. That one's done. Yay, we'll have, for Alchemy, we will have Orphan Planet by Rexburg. The next one I have is Art of Illusion, which is Shadow Play, and it needs to have the word game or play in the title. Now, obviously, none of my TBR has game or play in the title, so we're gonna have to look around. All right. This was a tricky one, but I have a loophole. I can get some classics for free, and therefore I have gone with The Importance of Being Earnest and Other Plays. I just typed in play and hoped for the best. The Importance of Being Earnest and Other Plays. I'm sure that works. Next we have Conjuration, which is a blinding prism, and for that we need a color wheel. So let's pull up a color wheel. All right, I gave it a test spin, and now we're gonna spin. I got green. All right. Naturally, there is no green here. Let's go see where we can find some green. For this one, I'm going to use the second Odyssey Earth book. The bigger font is in green. Each of the books have an allocated color font. So I'm going to be using this one. It's not prevalently green, but the font is prevalently green. So I'm going to go with that. My next obligation subject is spells and incantations, and it says spell quick count, and for that I need a random number generator, and I need to generate letters that are in a title. What's the longest one that I have? I imagined this one. All right, I'm going to do between 8 and 35. All right, we're going to generate. You ready? 30. All right, let's see if any of these have 30. 30. Yay! Oh my god! First book I picked up and it has 30. Cha-ching! We have 16 ways to defend a walled city is going to count for that prompt. My next compulsory subject is artificery, and it's lock and key, and therefore it needs to have a lock or a key on the cover. I don't think any of these will work, but we will look. No way! We have a key! It's on the back as well. We have a key. Oh my god, it's actually going better than I thought it would be. I've only had to add one so far. Then we have inscription, which is to write down 3 titles, fold it, and pick one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take 3 out of my miscellaneous jar, and we're going to mix them up, and we'll read whichever one comes up. And we have The Ember Child by Anthony Mitchell. That is one that I am actually very excited for, so that's fine. The Ember Child is the first book in a series, I believe, by Anthony Mitchell. Anthony Mitchell wrote Wolf Eater, which I really, really loved, so I'm really excited to get to this one. And it says, in a world where gods hold dominion over the lives of mortals, 2 men have the strength of will to forge their own destiny. First is Halison, the determined 16-year-old heir to a fallen kingdom, believed to be the Ember Child spoken of in prophecy. He has spent his life in hiding, training for the day he can return home and reclaim his father's throne. Set against him is Corin, the Lucian emperor, who once forged the greatest empire the world has ever seen, and now spends his days trying to hold the fragile union together. He dreams of a world united in peace and prosperity, but Halison's existence presents a danger to that ambition. The boy's claim will mean war unless Corin can stop his rebellion before it takes hold. Thus begins a race for the city of Tanara, where one man hopes to free a nation and the other to save an empire. Only one can succeed, but not even the gods can say who it will be, for these men are the gods' bane, and their actions will shape the course of history as gods can only dream. I'm really excited for it. Again, I really liked Wolf Eater, so I'm super excited. Kind of sad the series hasn't been continued to be written yet, because it sounds like one that I would love to binge, but alas, at least I get to read the first one. So then I'm going to go see if I can fit any of the others. So the next one would be Animal Studies, which is Pebble Ducks, and it's a yellow title. For this one I can use Illborn. It's a goldeny yellow, but I'm going to count it because I don't really give a shit. And I'm going to anyway. The next one is Astronomy, which is a zodiac recommendation. So let's go see what gets recommended to a Taurus. For Taurus, I have one of the options is Daughter of the Moon Goddess, which I am not particularly fussed about reading and don't really intend to buy. So we have Paula by Isabel Allende. I could potentially read that. I'll see if I have time because I do own that one. The next one is Demonology, and it is a book you did not pay for. Oh, I have Elior. I'll read Elior for this because it's like 30 pages or something. It's by Rowena Andrews and it's like a short story. It's their first foray into writing fantasy. So I will read Elior. Elemental Studies, it is to call lightning and has a source of light on the cover. I feel like that's supposed to depict a sun, so I could use this one for Elemental Studies. Then we have Lore, which is to read the Legend of Dia, which is fine because I've downloaded it. And then we have Psionics and Divination, which is Predictions Bingo. I could make a Predictions Bingo about Wolf Hall, actually. I might do that because that sounds fun. And because I know the setup and I know how it ends and stuff, I could potentially make some good predictions about this one. So I'll do it about that one. We have Restoration, which is a book you think could cure slumps. I guess out of these, the obvious one would be Practical Guide to Conquering the World, because I think it's going to be funny. So funny things tend to be quite quick. It's also epic fantasy, but fast paced. So I will go with that one. And the last prompt, which is for shapeshifting, is to read from an author who blurbed your last 5-star read. So I looked it up and I had to go back 3 5 stars because the most recent ones are the Innisfail series, which is self-pub and doesn't have blurbs from authors. So I went back to the Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher, and one of the authors that I am interested in reading that has blurbed it is Myra Grant. So I'm going to go with The Final Girls by Myra Grant. It's a novella, so it will fit on the TBR nicely, and therefore I should be able to read that quite promptly. So going through the whole list as it stands, we have for Alchemy, we have Orphan Planet by Rex Burke. Animal Studies, we have Illborn by Daniel T. Jackson. Art of Illusion, we have The Importance of Being Earnest and Other Plays by Oscar Wilde. For Astronomy, we have possibly Paula by Isabel Allende. For Conjuration, for the colour wheel, we got green, and I'm going with the second by Rex Burke, which is Twin Landing. Then we have Demonology, and I have Elior by Rowena Andrews. For Elemental Studies, we have Los Hijos de la Diosa Huracán by Diana Chiviano. For Spells and Incantations, we have 16 Ways to Defend a Walled City. For Alchemy, we have a key on the cover of How to Rule an Empire and Get Away with It. For Inscription, we had The Ember Child by Anthony Mitchell. For Lore, it's fine because we are reading The Legend of Dia. For Psionics and Divination, I'm going to do a prediction bingo for Wolf Hall. For Restoration, we are going to go with A Practical Guide to Conquering the World by KJ Parker. And then the last one is Shapeshifting. We have a Myra Grant book, so for that I'm going to go with Final Girls. So that's it. So the ones that are not on the Magical Readathon TBR therefore are Storm to Green Angel Tower Part 2 by Tad Williams, The Throne of Jade by Naomi Novik, and The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. But that's it. That's my TBR. I expected to be a lot more traumatized. Again, I do now have 6 digital books to read as well, which I think is what's luring me into this false sense of security that I can actually accomplish this TBR. But I am excited to get through all of my subjects, so hopefully it will be fun nonetheless. But that is it from me for today, so hopefully I will catch you in another one soon. Bye!